We are starting the Group 3 testing series with a car seldomly used. Have you ever used the Mitsubishi Lancer Group 3 in any BOP race? Or do you wonder how it performs nowadays against the competition? Buckle up, because we're going to test that in many disciplines. The Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution X was produced from October 2007 to May 2016, according to Wikipedia. It had a 2-liter turbocharged petrol engine, 4-wheel drive and, based on the version, can have an output from 280 PS to 446. The car used in this game is called the Final Edition, which is based off the GSR version and has a 5-speed manual transmission. Much to my annoyance. The Group 3 version was designed by Polyphony Digital and made ready to compete within the GT3 performance window of the Group 3 class. The 4-wheel drive system was of course scrapped and it now has an FR drivetrain layout. And, luckily, PD decided to build in a 6-speed transmission. The Mitsubishi has 619 PS and weighs 1,290 kilograms. In the 2026 manufacturers ranking, recorded on 27th June of 2026, Mitsubishi ranked in P18 overall, with a total of about 502 points over all 3 classes. In the highest class, GT1, it was placed in P18 as well, with 148.5 points. It performed very poor in the GT2 class, only placing 25th out of 27 manufacturers with 121.5 points. The best performance is recorded in the GT3 class, replacing it in P12 with roughly 232 points. So, we have a manufacturer that is chosen rarely and is placed in the lower half of the manufacturer list, considering performance. Now, let's see if it can punch above its weight. The Mitsubishi Lancer Group 3 has the standard ride height of 60 mm in the front and 70 mm on the rear, like most other GT3 cars and Group 3 cars, and natural frequencies of 3.6 Hz at the front and 3.2 Hz at the back. The downforce levels of 425 at the front and 575 at the rear mean that the car has been set to a more oversteery character by default. If you look at the engine and torque curves, the Mitsubishi has a stable torque line over most of the RPM band, whereas the power continues to rise in a basically straight line until around 7500 RPM. After that, the power drops significantly. This means that the car should perform best by revving it until 7500 RPM and should in no circumstances be over-revved, otherwise lots of time is lost. The gearbox ratios also show an ideal shifting point at 7500 RPM. It has a 6-speed gearbox, with the first gear reaching slightly over 100 kph and all the gears set so that the next gear lands between 5000 to 6000 RPM. With these settings, the car should be okay with the standing start and should be slightly below ideal RPM range when reaching top speed. Now that we know how the car works, I will test the acceleration capabilities. In the first test, I will drive on Tokyo Expressway east clockwise in a custom race with a Group 4 opponent behind me, with a flying start. I expect this one to be the slowest time. We set an initial time of 24.454. The important settings are BOP on, all setup options except brake bias set off, tire wear times 1, fuel depletion times 1, same conditions set on, and we will use medium racing tires and drive with bumper cam. Shifting later is definitely faster. Here's a 24.224. From the point the game releases me, I will stay on the lane I started and drive until the first sector ends. and note down the time. We are faster once again, setting at 24.090. I will repeat these tests several times and with different shifting points. Once at 25% of the ref bar, 50%, 75%, 90%, 100%, and as a last test, rev it out as much as possible. With the shifting point at 90%, we should be even faster. And we are. Here's a 24.020. If there is a wide difference between 100% rev bar and maximum revs, I will do a further test at half point. For this test, this was not necessary. This should be the fastest time if the power curve is not tricking us. And it is. Here is the first sub 24 time at 23.997. All times will be noted down and you will see what effects shifting at the right point has for the car. In the end, only the fastest time out of the set times will count. Now we're driving with full revs. You can already notice in fourth gear that the car accelerates a lot slower than previously. And we are indeed slower, setting at 24.361, almost 4/10 slower than before. As expected by the engine curve, the Mitsubishi was fastest with 100% rev bar shifting at 7500 rpm, finishing with the 23.997. In the second test, I will accelerate from a standstill, and at the ideal shifting point which we saw in the previous test. If you will drive a race or championship that has standing starts, this will be important, because some cars have long first gears, which means that they will take longer to accelerate and you might be losing positions at the start. I think this was an okay performance. We end this test with a 28.138. As this is the first car to test, we have not much to say about the ranking here, so I'll stay silent for now. Next, we will do 2 top speed tests. For the first test, I will open a private online lobby and select Special Stage Route X. The important settings are BOP on, all setup options except brake bias set off, tire wear ×1, fuel depletion ×1, same conditions set on, and we will use medium racing tires and drive with bonnet cam. The straight is long enough for the car to reach its natural top speed after 10 km. However, the car should stay stable within the last 600 meters and not lose speed. If it does, I'll drive to the other side of the oval and drive a few more kilometers until the speed sets. I'm not expecting much of the Mitsubishi. It has more power than most other cars, but it is a big boxy car, so it shouldn't reach high speeds despite the high power. We settle at the speed of 276 kph, and I think this is okay considering what a brick this car is. For the second test, we'll change the track to the Daytona tri-oval and drive 2 laps. The settings stay the same except for the track. The first lap does not count as it is meant to get up to speed. The second lap will count and the lap time will be recorded. This test is done to check how much speed the cars lose during cornering. which has to do with the cornering itself, the aerodynamics, and the engine curves of the cars. I expect the Mitsubishi to lose more time than other cars due to the way the power curve of the car is rising linearly. The lower I go, the less power I have. The lap time is a 52.616. The next 3 tests will be quite straightforward. I will test the cars on track and record the lap times. The important settings are BOP on, all setup options except brake bias set off, tire wear times 1, fuel depletion times 1, same conditions set on, weak shortcut penalties, and we will use medium racing tires and drive with cockpit cam. For each test I will drive 1 out lap and 10 timed laps, and I will do this twice. This means that each car gets 20 timed laps. Additionally, the total of best sector times and the optimal lap time will be counted instead of the fastest driven lap, as this provides a far fairer statement. Genuinely, a fastest lap can have errors in it. This will be eliminated through this method. The low speed BOP test will take place in Brands Hatch. This track was chosen due to most low speed BOP tracks having primarily slow speed corners, whereas you see many mid speed corners here as well. The car feels stable and planted, especially in the slow corners at the traction zones. It feels a lot more agile than it likely is. However, you need to be cautious when accelerating. The car can lose traction fast. In the end, we set an optimal time of 1:24.196. For the medium speed BOP test, I have chosen Interlagos as the track to go to. Interlagos, at least in Formula 1, is a circuit where most cars and drivers are extremely close together in lap times. While the first section tests mid and high speed cornering, the second section tests mechanical grip, whereas the last section tests acceleration and top speed. Unfortunately, I had problems with the recording. No sound was recorded. This will be a problem for the next 4 cars. I see no sense re-recording these parts because the lap times will be different again. I have spent around 4 hours of driving, so yeah, I'm not doing this again. Once again, the low speed corners prove to be a joy to drive. The car is very stable under braking. We set an optimal lap time of 1:33.073. For the high-speed BOP test, I have chosen the Autodromo Nazionale Monza as our test circuit. While the first section tests acceleration and mechanical grip, medium and high-speed cornering is tested in the second and third section. Another reason why this circuit was chosen is to test how good the cars are over curbs, as Monza has quite some aggressive curbs to master, which some cars can react allergic to. The many traction zones are feeling so good to drive. The car seems to have torque in every situation. The fast corners also work fine. It stays stable. It's just the top speed that feels slow. However, we set an optimal lap time of 1:49.175. The next test will bring us to Dragon Trail Seaside for the endurance test. This test determines how the car fares with fuel depletion and tire wear. The important settings are BOP on, all setup options except brake bias set off, tire wear times 5, fuel depletion times 3, same conditions set on, and we will use soft racing tires and drive with cockpit cam. I will drive race pace here, which means that I will drive a bit safer than in the previous sessions, drive round the lines, and look if I can save fuel if the car allows it. This circuit was chosen because it is a medium speed BOP circuit, because it has all types of corners, and it is a fair circuit considering tire wear where neither front heavy FR cars nor rear heavy MR or RR cars are at a disadvantage. I will skip the major part of that stint and I'll see you later on when the tires are at its end. So I have driven 7 laps and the tire is on its last legs. The understeer is getting worse with every corner and it's difficult to keep the car on track. The front left tire is completely red now and has almost no grip at all. I will now park and record the distance and fuel usage. I have driven 7.3 laps. I don't think this is a good result, but it was to be expected due to the front heavy nature FR car and it has quite a high weight. It will perform better on high speed circuits like Le Mans where the front tires have less work to do, and it will work badly on tracks like Suzuka. You can also see that the car has 57 liters left in the tank. We started with 100 liters, this means we used 43 liters. Divided by 7.3 laps driven, this results in 5.89 liters per lap. I think this is quite the average result, but we have to wait for other cars and see how it evolves. The setup tests are useful for two reasons. Firstly, it shows how the car is set up and how a few clicks can make the car behave completely differently. Secondly, it shows what potential can be unlocked if you have races and championships where more setup changes are allowed. I will do two setup tests. The first test will be a repeat of the special stage Route X top speed test with all setup options allowed. There, the car will be set to minimum downforce and the top speed will be recorded. Due to the engine power curves in different stock downforce levels, the results can differ widely. The Mitsubishi gains about 5 kph due to reduced downforce. The future will show if this is a low or high gain. The second test will be a repeat of the medium BOP test in Interlagos with all setup options allowed. All cars will be set to medium downforce levels on the front and rear, and I will do some suspension and LSD changes for my preference. In some cases, drivability will improve, and in others it will get worse. How much faster or slower the cars can get is up to the standard setting and can differ widely for each car. The car definitely feels less nimble with the more understeery downforce settings. However, this is made up through the increased agility I added through the suspension and LSD settings. In the end, I was able to improve my lap time slightly, with a 1:32.891. With the normalized setup, we gain 0.182 seconds. However, I expect other cars to improve more, thanks to having more potential through the downforce settings. This test consists of 3 steps. First, another top speed test on special stage Route X will be done. This time the BOP is set to off, and the cars are set up manually to have 5 to 7% more power, depending on the maximum power output of the cars. The setup will be the same as it is when the BOP is on, so stock. Like in the setup tests, this is to see how much each car improves in top speed. The Mitsubishi gained 5% more power in this test. With the plus of each percent, you would expect the top speed to increase around 1 kph. With 5%, there should be around a 5 kph increase. It also depends on the power curve and if the car reaches the sweet spot where it runs at peak power. In the end, the Mitsubishi climbs up to 280 kph, 4 kph faster than with the BOP and 0.8 kph faster per percent power advantage. Additionally, acceleration tests will be done, both with flying and standing starts, and with an Unimog as an opponent. The shifting points will be the optimal shifting points as determined in the first acceleration test. And indeed, there's a win of 0.516 seconds, which means that with each percent power increase, we gain 0.103 seconds. Then, for the standing start, an adjustment needs to be made. Instead of going for 90% power at the start, it must be reduced to 80%. Since the Mitsubishi already had no problems accelerating out of the box, the time win will not be that substantial. The Mitsubishi is 0.455 seconds faster. With each percent power increase, we gain 0.091 seconds. The third test will be a repeat of the high-speed BOP test in Monza, again with BOP set to off and the increased power output. Another 20 hot laps will be driven and the optimal time will be noted. Then the lap time will be compared to the high-speed BOP lap time and the value for each percent power increase will be noted down. With this test, you can see how much the car improves by giving 1% more power. The driving behavior of the car does not change too much. The acceleration increases and this makes the traction decrease a bit, but other than that, no change can be felt. The time improvement is 0.913 seconds, which gives a rough 0.183 seconds time improvement per percent more power. The last test will be another repeat of the high-speed BOP test in Monza, with the same settings as before with the increased power test. This time the initial BOP power output from the BOP will be set again. However, at least for the Gr.3 tests, the weight will be increased by 35 kilograms for each car. This is because the highest ballast weight due to the high-speed BOP is 165 kilograms. Another 20 hot laps will be driven and the optimal time will be noted down. Then the lap time will be compared to the high-speed BOP lap time, and the value for weight increase will be noted down. Basically, the difference in lap times will be divided by 7 to have a 5 kg time loss. With this testing method, you can see how much slower the car gets by adding 5 kg of weight. A weight increase influences everything about the car, almost everything equally. Therefore, it is almost impossible to feel a difference, except the lap time getting slower. So at the end of these laps, the time loss with a 35 kg heavier car is 0.428 seconds. This means that with every 5 kg weight increase, the time loss is around 0.061 seconds. So guys, that's the first in-depth test done. I'm surprised by myself at how long it took to write the script and test everything. With more and more tests, you will later see if the Mitsubishi might be a sleeper car for you to surprise others, or maybe you want to become the strongest Mitsubishi driver and bring it back to the Gran Turismo World Series. I hope I'll hear from you in the next tests that come out. Peace.